morning and welcome to another episode of Business Beat with me, Odette. Yes, we are in the third wave of the COVID pandemic, and COVID has brought with it a lot. A lot of businesses, a lot of people have had to change the way they do things, and a lot of consideration has gone into how we transact, how we purchase, and how we engage consumers. One massive consideration is the great digital divide. With me this morning is Bradwin Roper, who is a thought leader and also the CEO of FNB Connect. Good morning, Bradwin, and welcome to Business Beat.
Good morning, Odette, and thank you so much for having me.
So this great big digital divide.
Yeah.
We spoke earlier and you used a coin phrase called humanware.
Yeah.
Talk to us about what this humanware thing is all about.
Such a fantastic thing. So, if you think about just 20 years ago, all of the stuff that we have packed into this thing called a phone these days, right? So back in the day, we had this concept of hardware and everyone was talking about how much RAM you had, what the size of the machine was. So that was, I guess, the first iteration was this hardware phase. Then we migrated to this concept of software and everyone was talking about, are you on Android, iOS, killer apps and the likes. Where I think we find ourselves now, and you mentioned it in your intro about the great big digital divide, is this concept hopefully that people can really grapple with, which I call humanware. Mm-hmm. So this is where hardware, software, the Internet of Things can really help augment and help us be better human beings.
Wow.
So one fantastic example is the fitness world that we live in, right?
Yeah.
So many of us have fitness wearables. It's a combination of hardware, software, collecting data points, and it's really helping us be better human beings, be healthier human beings. So that's a fantastic example of, where hardware, software is really...
Are you talking about like the sleep app that tells you when to go to sleep?
Precisely, right? Sleep apps, it can track your nutrition. So it's really just helping us be better human beings, better at fitness. Arguably, so I don't have a personal trainer. The only person I compete with when I go to the gym is myself. I just have to 100%, right? I just have to be a better version of myself every single day. Mm-hmm. And that's where technology, software, data, connectivity is helping me be the best version of myself in my fitness regime, right? So that's a wonderful example of humanware.
So if humanware is using technology to be a better person in terms of how you behave, what should big brands, big business know about this new humanware and how to engage with consumers? Yeah,
that's a brilliant question. A lot of people are talking about the Internet of Things, right? So the Internet of Things is here. The Internet of Things, there's nearly 12 billion connections to things in the world today. The United Nations projects that that's likely to double by 2025 to over 25 billion connections today.
A lot of people think that it's still coming. Talk to us about what some of these things are.
So some of these things are, for example, my alarm system is connected to my phone. My watch is connected to my life. There's the more obvious ones, your PC, your phone, your smartphones, your tablets, your devices. There's wearable technology, home pods and the likes. So our homes are becoming connected, our worlds are becoming connected, our cars are becoming connected, our entire lives are becoming connected. However, I think what brands need to start thinking about is what I call the Internet of Behaviors. So this is the intersection of where Internet of Things coupled with, data points that we have. So how can we marry all of the data points that we have with the technology that we have to try and, bolster this concept of humanware, help us be better human beings. If we think about brands and retail brands, how can we leverage the data points that we have to try and influence behavior and influence buying patterns? So I think that's where the world is going towards, is this concept of the Internet of Behaviors.
You're from a big bank.
Yeah.
What has this new normal taught you as a banker in terms of how consumers should be banking?
Yeah.
And considering that mobile technology in South Africa is a big thing.
Yeah.
So all South Africans have a phone.
Yeah.
But only 50% of South Africans have a smartphone.
Correct.
So how does that work with banking?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, we have to recognize one thing. What all financial services sector companies should be thinking, and what we've really started thinking about, is a hyper-segmentation. So we are organized according to customer segments,
Right.
all the way from entry level right up top to super wealthy. And we need to recognize that every single hyper-segmentation needs are going to be different.
Okay.
So when you are designing and implementing solutions, you have to tailor your solutions to your audience. So for example, cell phone banking and USSD is still prevalent on feature phones. So you have to make sure that your USSD dial string can still cater to that market. But rightfully so, you have a lot more access to a lot more capabilities. So if we think about our COVID relief program, we launched that on and inside the banking app. But what we also did was we repurposed our physical points of presence, right? So when a customer comes in and they might have a feature phone, is how do we help them, on the platforms that we have inside our physical premises, right? Because education is another big barrier for getting customers digitized, right? If you think about, my own gran, may she rest in peace, I think she would have completely, to do a COVID relief on a banking app by herself would have been a stretch too far. But the new norm of helping people get digitized, I think that's something that we need to grapple with as well. So not just access, but also education, making sure that the content inside your platform is understandable right down to a segment of one.
So my takeouts from this for any business is know thy customer.
Yeah.
Meet thy customer at the data point.
Absolutely.
And migrate that customer as quickly as possible to a digital platform.
Yeah.
Not just for yourself as a business, but for them.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
If we think about it, right? So people think that big data is this big, highfalutin concept. Fundamentally, all we're trying to do is link to the internet of behavior, is understand who is Odette, what matters to Odette, what life stage is Odette in, and how can we tailor solutions to Odette on platform. What platform is Odette on? How can we migrate Odette to a richer, engaged platform like a banking app, And we have some of the best digital banking apps in the country. So how do we understand all of these little data points and just help slowly but surely behaviorally influence Odette to get onto safer, more secure, more engaged platforms?
I have one last question for you.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to do with financial services.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to do with technology.
Yeah.
It has to do with humanware.
Yeah.
It's about you. You started and are actually a qualified chemical engineer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You started formulating washing powder.
Yeah.
And you've migrated into banking.
Yeah.
If you had one piece of advice for your younger self, or a younger viewer perhaps, who is watching today, what would you tell them about being fearless in terms of their career path in 1 or 2 sentences?
Such a fascinating question. It's very difficult for me to talk about myself. I grew up in El Dorado Park. A lot of people know this about me. I think the things that I've leaned on quite heavily is education, firstly, as a foundation. So I worked hard, studied hard, tried to make sure that at least when I spoke, I could speak with some, credence on certain topics. Also, just impact. I've always just strived for impact. So if you're in a room and you're opining on something, you got to make sure that if you say something that people want to hear from you. I think, so those are the 2 principles I've sort of carried with me regardless of the setting that I find myself in. The pivot from, I guess, hardcore chemical engineering into banking, for me was quite a simple one, right? So as an engineer, we were trying to solve problems, trying to solve human-related problems. In that instance, we were trying to help clean people's homes. I moved on to skincare and cleanse, and I was trying to help keep people clean and sanitized. But what I found myself wanting to do, money matters to people. And when we were growing up, debt and how much or little money we had was a household topic. So I wanted to make a meaningful impact in ordinary South Africans' lives. So using the concept of understanding the challenge, understanding the people, how do you then connect those dots and try and solve for leveraging technology, try and solve for those grand human wear problems.
Oh,
so
wow.
that was the migration, is just trying to solve for people's problems.
The most awesome point to actually wrap on. I could talk to you for ages. I could literally pick your brain for ages. It's so lovely chatting to you. Thank you so much for being on Business Beat.
Brilliant.
And I will certainly be following you because I love your insights into human behavior, consumer behavior, technology, banking, skincare, washing powder. Long may it continue. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me, Odette.
To the viewer, there you have it. I don't think there's anything more to be said. It's about knowing your customer and migrating your customer as quickly as possible to digital. Until next week.